I threw together a new mock draft this morning, but I did it pretty quickly. I didn't think about it really hard, but I do pretty much like just about every pick here. I got a little confused at some points, but I think it's pretty good. Before I start, I heard a rumor that the Lions were considering letting the clock run out on their pick and just giving the first overall pick to the Rams because they don't want to pay that kind of money to their first overall pick. So they're going to drop down to second or third or whatever, so they have to pay less money. I think that's a pretty stupid idea, but it is the Lions, so I don't know. Anyway, number 1, I got the Lions taking Jason Smith, the offensive tackle out of Baylor. They've been talking with him lately. Number 2, I got the Rams taking Eugene Monroe, the offensive tackle out of Virginia. They might be a little mad they missed out on Jason Smith, but Monroe's great. I don't know about this one, but I do have the Chiefs at number 3 taking Chris Wells, the running back out of Ohio State. I just do think they need some sort of a running back there. Number 4, I got the Seahawks taking Aaron Curry, the outside linebacker out of Wake Forest, to replace Julian Peterson. 5, I have the Cleveland Browns taking Malcolm Jenkins, the cornerback out of Ohio State. They need some cornerbacks down there. I know they got Eric Wright. They kind of like McDonald, but they're not that good. They need some cornerback help. Number 6, I have the Bengals taking B.J. Raji, the defensive tackle out of Boston College. I know they need some depth there on the defensive line. Number 7, I got the Raiders taking Jeremy Maclin, wide receiver out of Missouri. I know Al Davis loves speed, and Jeremy Maclin's a lot faster than Michael Crabtree, so I have Maclin going before Crabtree. Speaking of which, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 8 taking Michael Crabtree, wide receiver out of Texas Tech. They need some pass catchers, and Crabtree will hopefully be just what they asked for. Number 9, I got the Packers taking Michael Oher, the offensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Both their offensive tackles, they're still pretty good, but they are getting very old. They could use some depth here, and they could use a tackle for the future, so I do like that pick. I wanted to give them some defense, but I didn't think anything made sense here. Number 10, I have the 49ers taking Matthew Stafford, the quarterback out of Georgia. I don't know about this one because I heard the Niners gave him a psych evaluation and they didn't really like what they saw, so they weren't really a big fan of Stafford, but I think that at number 10 that would be regarded as a pretty significant steal potentially, so I think they'll take their chances with Stafford. They do need a quarterback down there. Number 11, Buffalo takes Brian Orakpo, the defensive end out of Texas. I know they still have that one really good defensive end, I can't remember his name. Aaron something. I can't remember his name, but he's good. They don't really have anyone else on the other side. And they're not that bad a team. They have good players, so I think they can afford to try and take a little bit of a luxury with Brian Orakpo. Number 12, Denver Broncos, Avonte Davis, the cornerback out of Illinois. They just need defense, and I know a lot of people might try and give them a quarterback. I don't think so. I think they're good with Orton. I think Orton is going to give them something positive this season, so I think they're going to go cornerback here, Avonte Davis. 13, I have the Redskins taking a big risk with Andre Smith, offensive tackle out of Alabama. Last couple years, their offensive line, every year it starts out really good, every year it gets hurt, and by the end of every season it's not there. The offensive line, it seems like they keep having these injuries and issues, and it sinks them. It does. There's always seems like over the last several years there's a period of the season where they just keep losing and losing. And it's because their offensive line can't get it done. So I have them taking a huge chance with Andre Smith. 14, I have the Saints taking Ray Malaluga, the inside linebacker out of USC. I like this guy a lot. He's a heavy hitter, all over the place. Big fan of Ray, even if I cannot pronounce his name. I think the Saints are going to take him there. Maybe move him to outside linebacker because I know they have Jonathan Vilma. I don't know if they're going to keep Vilma now, but either way, I think that's a good pick. Number 15, I have the Houston Texans taking Brian Cushing, the outside linebacker out of USC. I know there's been some talk about him potentially being on steroids, which is a concern. but he's still a very good player, and the Texans could use an outside linebacker, so I have them going that direction. San Diego Chargers, I have them taking Tyson Jackson, the defensive end out of LSU. I like him. I like this pick a lot. It fits really well. It helps them fill the gap that Igor Olshansky left, and I like Tyson Jackson quite a bit. He's built really well. Number 17, the New York Jets. I didn't really like this pick, but I have them going Mark Sanchez, the quarterback out of USC. They need a quarterback, and they're obviously not going to get Jay Cutler. That's long over. And right now they're with Kellen Clemens, Brett Ratliff, and Eric Ainge, and I wouldn't trust any of those guys, so I think it's going to be Sanchez here. 18, Denver Broncos, Pariah Jerry, the defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Just keep drafting defense. Maybe at some point they can take a flyer on a quarterback or a running back or something, but right now, defense. Number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Percy Harvin, wide receiver out of Florida. They just need some playmakers on offense. Last year, nobody was stepping up to make plays for him, it seemed like, so Percy Harvin, he's a risk, but I think they'll take this risk. They're trying to rebuild right now. Number 20, the Detroit Lions, Josh Freeman, quarterback out of Kansas State. I think they have this opportunity to get a top quality rookie quarterback prospect here. They passed it up with their first pick by not taking Matt Stafford, but I think they can get a player who I think will end up being better here in Josh Freeman. So I have them taking him at the 20th pick. 21, I have the Eagles taking Brandon Pettigrew, tight end out of Oklahoma State. They do have some issues at tight end. Again, I like Brant Selleck, but I don't know if he can be a top starter. And I think they should trade for Tony Gonzalez, but that's looking more and more like that's not going to happen. So I'm going to say Brandon Pettigrew here. Number 22, Minnesota Vikings, Alphonso Smith, the cornerback out of Wake Forest. They have some issues at cornerback, you know. Obviously, they have Antoine Winfield, who's great, but behind that, I don't really like anyone that much. I just haven't seen much out of Cedric Griffin. 23, the Patriots take Everett Brown to help replace some of the outside linebacker depth issues they may have. I mean, they still got good players there, but some of them are old and injury prone. They obviously lost to Mike Vrabel, so I think they stock up here. Number 24, the Falcons, James Laurinaitis, inside linebacker in Ohio State. Maybe they move him to outside linebacker and have him play Keith Brookings' spot. And they also lost Michael Boley, so they have linebacker issues, and Laurinaitis can hopefully help fill that. Number 25, I have the Dolphins taking Darius Hayward-Bay, the wide receiver out of Maryland. Ted Ginn has been better than I thought he would be, but they still need some help here. I have the Ravens taking Kenny Britt, the wide receiver out of Rutgers. They could use some receiver help, and I think Britt is going to be great for Joe Flacco. Number 27, I have the Colts taking Robert Ayers, the defensive end out of Tennessee. They say this guy can play defensive end, defensive tackle, and linebacker, so I think they'll appreciate that kind of versatility. I like that pick. Number 28, I have the Eagles taking Noshawn Moreno, the running back out of Georgia. They need somebody behind Westbrook because it doesn't look like they're going to bring Buckhalter back. And we all know Westbrook is injury prone, so Noshawn Moreno. Number 29, Hakeem Nicks, wide receiver out of North Carolina. If they get a receiver, I think they're set. Titans, I had a hard time with this pick. I'm going with Aaron Mabin, the defensive end out of Penn State, to help try and fill the gap that Albert Hainsworth left. But this pick is tough. I don't know what the Titans are really going to do here. 31, I have the Cardinals taking LaShawn McCoy, running back out of Pittsburgh. They need more from that running game, and I think McCoy can hopefully help replace Edgerrin James. It doesn't look like he's going to be back, and I don't like J.J. Arrington very much. It's just they need something there. They looked okay in the playoffs, but I still think they need something there. Finally, at 32, I have Pittsburgh taking Alex Mack, the cornerback out of California. That's the first round. I'm not going to do any more rounds, at least right now. That's what I got right now. Maybe I'll make one more before the draft, but pretty happy with that, so see you guys later.